And welcome back to another video. In this video I'm going to show you how to set up this GS series aquarium from Dymax. Low iron glass, high intensity LED, super cool filtration, a weird background. I'm going to go through the basics of how we set up the substrate, how we made the structures. Yes, that is a tree. There is a tree in this aquarium. And how long it takes to get the tank looking like this. Let's get started and check out what's in the box. We are going to open this GS30. Yes, another Dymax tank. It is low iron glass. I think it's roughly about a 30 centimeter cube, so around about 30 liters. I think I read 27 liters on it somewhere. It weighs heaps. That must be like 20 kilos. I'm not entirely sure why. I'm pretty sure it doesn't come with any rocks. It's just got a polystyrene background, a decent high powered LED, and filtration. So I have no idea why it weighs so much. Maybe there's stuff inside it. We're going to open up, figure out what's in the box. That makes no sense. It is a glass low iron tank with a Dymax Eclipse light. If you haven't seen these lights, they are all aluminium, high intensity LED, really awesome. I've used these quite a few years on lots of different tank builds. They work super well. So it's kind of cool you get one of those with this tank. Oh, that is polystyrene. Oh, how weird. Now, Dymax told me not to break this. I kind of want to just break it, but I'm not yet. Why does it weigh so much? I have no idea. Filtration-wise, it looks the same as most of the other Dymax tanks. So I think you've got your sponges down there. You have a pump on that side. There's room for a heater in the back. But it is all solid glass. Oh, it has little legs. Looks like Perspex legs underneath. I'm going to take the wrapping off it and get a better look with the light on. And that was super easy to assemble. So you can put the bracket on the inside or the outside. We've just got it on the inside because I like to do things wrong. It doesn't overly matter. It just means those little screws are on the inside as opposed to the outside. Yeah. But that is very bright. We've pulled the filtration apart. This is what comes in the filter. You have a big, decent sponge. You have some carbon, some biomedia, finer sponge, and a little drip tray. So it's sort of the same setup as a few of the other Dymax tanks. Water obviously goes through here, down there, into this little compartment, and then gets jetted back out. So it comes with a decent pump. This is 400 liters an hour. How many watts is that? That is 5 watts, this pump. Very simple. That sits in the end filtration area, dooha, and then that water just jets back out through that bit there. So there is enough room that you can completely change your biomedia in there. You can add a heater or more biomedia to that, and you could even put some biomedia in there with the pump if you want. That is the light. We're going to put the pump back together, then we're going to sort out substrate and aquascape, which is the fun bit. So I'm going to start with the rock work. This little piece of paper here is exactly the same size as the floor of the aquarium. So if you sort of do something like that, you can arrange the rocks the way you want on the piece of paper without going in and out of the tank continuously. So it's just an easy way of doing it. I think the whole idea of this tank build is we're going to do like a structure made out of this, which is black volcanic rock or black scoria. Heaps of surface area, going to look really cool. We might grow some plants all attached to this as well as some sort of carpet or something like that. So we're going to glue all these rocks together. The way we're going to do that is just use a simple liquid super glue, and we need some tissue paper like that. So I've got countless videos that show you how to do this, and we're just going to make our structure by joining all these rocks up, and then we're going to lift the whole thing and we're going to place it in our tank. I think we're also going to destroy a little bit of background, gouge out some holes and attach some of these rocks to the holes. Now, what you don't want to do is you don't want to use any super glue with polystyrene because, as you see there, it will melt the polystyrene. If you're not sure what this will melt, just use a little sample bit like I did and it will turn to gunk. So the product that we are going to use is this product here. It is a polymer like a silicone. You can use a silicone, but the good thing with the polymer is it doesn't have that horrible vinegar smell for about a week or so, and it will cure wet. So you can actually glue a wet rock to a wet rock. You can cure it underwater in an aquarium. It is super, super awesome stuff. I do have this available if you're local and you want that. I probably can ship it. I probably should put it on my online shop, shouldn't I? Maybe I've done that. So there might be a link down the bottom if I have done that. If I haven't done that, I'm just not organized, and remind me on social media. So it's roughly about 12 hours later. I think these are solid enough. So all I've done is gouge out a little bit of polystyrene and just push a few rocks in with that polymer. Seems to be fine. It's a little bit stinky, but it's not as stinky as silicone. So what we're going to do now is lift our tank over, and we're going to put our rock in. Hopefully our rock will fit. So we'll see how we go. Oh look, it does fit. Amazing. Who would have thought? Okay, now we know our rock fits. We're going to try our tree, and then we get an overall idea of the layout. We are going to add our substrate in. We're going to do a layer of laterite, which is a plant medium. We're going to top it off a little bit with some aqua earth shrimp soil, so on each side, and then we're going to cap it off with a nice sand. Now we're going to fill it up with water. We're going to let this settle for about a week or so, make sure our pH is all balanced. It's important to note at this stage that when you do add your sand, it's going to be a little bit murky, but that will clear up. Now that our water is all balanced, we have drained 2/3 of our water out. We're keeping that in buckets because we're going to add that back to the tank after we've planted it. So the first thing we're going to do is use a gel super glue to attach moss onto our bonsai wood. You don't want to use too much gel for this because it will be noticeable when you fill it up with water. It'll turn a white color. Now that we've attached all our moss onto our wood and our rocks, we're going to plant hair grass in the bottom. So when you buy hair grass, you want to trim a lot of the leaves off because they're going to die off and your new shoots are going to grow from the root structure. So it looks a little bit mingy at the moment, but once it grows in after about a week or so of CO2, it's going to look awesome. After a few days, you're going to notice the moss is going to start to look like it's growing first. The hair grass is going to take a little while to actually sprout around the main structures, but you should start to notice roots starting to form. So you'll get all these horrible little white roots growing everywhere. Then the original green is going to die off, and then you're going to get new shoots growing in there. So the CO2 system I'm using is this mini disposable Dymax CO2. It consists of a regulator, a bottle, a bubble counter, a one-way valve, and a simple little atomizer, which is just like a pressurized air stone which the CO2 comes out from. So the only problem with these little units is they don't come with a solenoid valve, and a solenoid valve will go in line, and that's just going to turn on and off. So solenoid valve just means an on-off electric switch, because at night you have to actually physically turn this bottle off to stop the CO2. So plants are only going to take up CO2 in the daytime and actually produce CO2 at night and take up oxygen. So if you've got your CO2 system on at night, that can actually suffocate your fish and crash the system. So we're going to jump about a week or so and see how our grass has grown in. Oh look, absolute disaster. We have a huge algae bloom. So it's pretty common to get diatom algae, which is the brown stuff, but this is a mix of cyanobacteria, algae, all sorts of nasty stuff. That's just feeding off the excess nutrients in the substrate before the plants actually start to grow and feed off it themselves. So very easy to fix algae issues like this. All I've done is actually, apart from a few little water changes and trying to reduce and siphon the algae particles out, I've added some Malaysian live-bearing snails in here. Malaysian live-bearing snails can take over if you've got too much food in your tank, but generally not an issue, and they are brilliant at eating algae. And another week later, so this is about the 3rd week from setting up, we have just added a few fish. So we're going to cycle this tank with the fish in it. And by cycling the tank means growing the nitrifying bacteria to break down the chemical waste that the fish produce. So we've got 6 little endless live bearers, or have I got 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I have 6. I can count. Sure, I can count. We have 6 little male endless live bearers. They're like a mini guppy. So, and I've added some nitrifying bacteria to the water as we've added the fish. It's super important not to add your nitrifying bacteria before you have any ammonia present in your tank, and because the bacteria needs the ammonia to start multiplying in the filtration. And talking about the filtration, it is doing a wonderful job. We have added a few extra sponges to the back. We also have one of our little Awazi 50-watt heaters here, which will do up to 50 litres, and that is currently heating the whole tank setup. Our CO2 has been happily bubbling away for the last 3 weeks, and our hair grass is starting to take over. So it's probably still about another 3 or 4 weeks for that to fully carpet the whole tank. And then we're going to just trim along the bottom and we'll eventually get a cool carpet of hair grass. So the only things I would sort of change to this sort of setup is obviously a solenoid valve for this. And as I said before, the solenoid valve just turns off your CO2 when your light turns off. We're probably going to add a few more little fish, maybe some otocinclus catfish in here as well. Perfect little algae eaters, where we'll just see how we go with the algae issues. Shouldn't be too much of a problem now that the hair grass is sort of starting to dig in and start to take up the nutrients that the algae was taking up. And it's been about a month since we've set this tank up. All the hair grass is starting to grow through the substrate and into the actual layer where they're going to get the fertilizer. Our algae has buggered off, which is wonderful. Our snails are now working their way in the moss, eating all the algae in the moss. And our little endless live bearers are just being very, very awesome. So another probably month or so before this grass carpets the whole tank. But I'm pretty happy with the tank and the setup. So for the price of these, and these retail for about 279 Australian, they're pretty good. You get a low iron tank, you get decent filtration, and you get an absolutely awesome light. What more could you want? They've got cool little legs. They're actually a nice looking tank, and it's a nice size too. So with the filtration in the back, there's not much that you sort of need to add to it. Very, very cool. So I definitely recommend one of these tanks if you're looking at a first tank or just another cool little desktop tank that you can add some cool little nano fish, shrimp, something like that in it. But anyway, if you liked this video, click the thumbs up so I know. If you want to know any more about this tank or the setup or anything I did in this video, just comment down below and I'll get back to you. Thanks heaps for watching. Can't wait to do the next tank now.